Hey listeners, in the cryptocurrency space, just like the Wild West, there are pioneers and explorers. Explorers don't want or need permission, also known as rules, because they're just mapping the terrain, testing the limits, and that would just slow them down. Pioneers don't initially need permission, but they do want rules. How else could you invest in building, whether a home or business, that'll last in an environment whose future rules you don't know? Both of these users serve a purpose and fill a need. It's worth considering, though. Are you an explorer or are you a pioneer? Back to the show.
Price is such an important piece of information that just tells you so much. But anyway, we're getting a little bit off track. But this is a great discussion about DAX and about transaction fees. I just want to ask you guys quickly, because we're short on time. But I want to ask you, Jeffrey, what do you think of MadeSafe, which everybody was buzzing about? MadeSafe is a basically it's going to, according to David Irvine, is going to decentralize computing. So you'd be able to log in with a couple of passwords from essentially any device, access all your files, all your apps, and it's a completely decentralized method of computing where everything is encrypted and you're accessing your computing environment through a location that only you know and can be conveyed by your passwords.
Well, I think the internet was created by the government for the government. And we've just all hung along for the ride. So when we look at the problems we have with the internet today, it's because it wasn't market driven. It wasn't created in an organic way. I mean, what we have now is sort of bootstrapped from what was created. But, a total overhaul of what we call communications over the internet, what we call the internet, I think would be awesome. I haven't looked at MadeSafe enough to make that determination, but all the people who I trust in this space are saying, oh my God, this thing is awesome. Mm-hmm. So I really want this to pass the test as well when I look into it.
I think that MadeSafe is sort of the latest incarnation in a lot of previous ideas to build decentralized services on top of IP networking. And if you go back throughout the time, I've been tracking this space since even long before Bitcoin. And I was talking with some other pioneers. You had Adam Back on the show not long ago, excellent episode. And I was talking to Adam Back recently, who also has been involved in this space long before Bitcoin. He was the one who invented the proof of work that ended up being used in Bitcoin. Mm-hmm. And there are 4 or 5 failed projects that immediately come to mind that tried to do things like this that failed because they didn't have a blockchain and a distributed system and a proof of work and a value store that could now be resurrected with some Bitcoin or an altcoin or something that interoperates with Bitcoin to bring those ideas back to life. And MadeSafe, like you said, I haven't looked at the actual technical implementation yet, so I can't speak to whether or not
it's not available yet. So
whether or not it's going to be MadeSafe, but something that delivers on these ideas of distributed trustless computing is going to be built, and it will use cryptocurrencies as its base idea to prevent abuse and to compensate people for their computing resources and storage resources. And that's pretty inevitable. It actually surprises me every single day that more cloud providers don't accept Bitcoin right now, because with cryptocurrencies, it becomes very easy to minimize counterparty risk. Like right now, if I want to use 1,000 machines from Amazon to run some scientific computation, I give them my credit card, and to get your accounts limits raised, you have to have a rep, and they have to know you and know that if you're going to bill $40,000 of computing time in 24 hours, that they're going to get paid for that. But it would be really cool if the infrastructure were in place to be able to use on-demand computing resources without really them risking more than a certain small threshold, because then you're just constantly settling. The idea of daily billing or monthly billing is a throwback to when we had to print out bills or even write bills or type bills and then put them in the mail and then return another piece of paper that instructs the bank to pay them and all of this. And so with cryptocurrencies now, we can do things like minute-to-minute settlement to keep counterparty risk at levels far below wherever possible before. And I think that's kind of the future of a lot of service providers. Things like MadeSafe or reincarnations of the many attempts that the cypherpunks had in the 90s are definitely going to become prominent. That there's a huge need for them. both from the service provider side because it reduces their risk, and from the customer side because it reduces the friction of the transaction. Everybody's going to win.
And I think fundamentally, when we're looking at why is it that this stab at the cypherpunk war is winning,
It's because of Bitcoin.
It's not because of Bitcoin. I would argue it's because we have one thing that they never had, which was price discovery. When in any system, when you add price discovery, it now becomes viable. So if you look at Tor, and if you look at the things that they're doing in this environment, right? Tor is a system to which, when you have a node, there's no incentive other than ideological as to why you would want to be a node on Tor. And what happens on Tor is that prices out people who want to do it for pragmatic reasons, because based on whatever locality you're in, you need to internalize the costs associated with both operating it and the risks associated with operating it. So, being a node on Relay, a Relay on Tor is not without risks, especially dependent upon what country you're in.
Absolutely.
There are people in America who have gone to jail for being relays for Tor. And when you have the price discovery mechanism, it doesn't matter how risky it is. It doesn't matter how onerous it is to do. That will be factored into the price. When you have price discovery, you have the ability to act. And I think what we're seeing with cryptography is now that we have a system for price discovery, that was the missing component in all these awesome cryptographic things. That now is why we're seeing all these awesome behaviors. And I think Bitcoin is this for money. But I think that the key innovation isn't Bitcoin, it's the blockchain. And the key reason why the blockchain works is because it facilitates price discovery in a way that cannot be shut down.
It's cryptography with good economics, right?
Yes. Well, there's was it Austrian economics and Keynesian economics, or as I like to call it, Keynesian economics and economics.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, so we are actually about to head to the Let's Talk Bitcoin meetup. However, I just wanted to give you guys both the opportunity to add anything that we didn't cover or that you wanted to make sure we said.
Well, big news today is Gavin Anderson is stepping down as lead developer of the Bitcoin Core.
That's right.
Which is some pretty groundbreaking news. Fortunately, he's one of his posts on the Bitcoin Dev mailing list are some of my favorite, and he's always kind of been this stable source of what's best for Bitcoin in my eyes. And it was good news to me anyway to hear that he was sticking around as chief scientist, so he's still going to lend insight and whatnot. But that he was going to, I think you mentioned that his plan was to focus on some developing some other things.
Right. I think he said he wanted to address some specific issues, and being the man in charge wouldn't allow him to sort of have a laser focus on one or two particular topics. And,
is that really the reason? I mean, of course, if I were him, I probably wouldn't.
No one at high level ever gets fired. They resign. Is what you're saying? Yeah, they have to take care of the kids.
Or any other reason. Like it could be anything.
4 years is a long time to have any job.
Sure, and I imagine there is such a huge amount of pressure. Being asked to go to the CFR, speak to the
maybe just
CIA.
wants his inbox back.
Right.
Yeah,
but also how underappreciated of an asset is he?
Yeah.
So you look at everyone
it's a thankless job for sure.
Who, not to make it a governmental example, but people who run an institution and then go work for the free market and get 10 or 20x. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if daily he gets hounded with absurd levels of salaries to work for X company or Y company. And, if that's the case, I think no one deserves it more than he. But I mean, fundamentally, we keep talking about Bitcoin as this awesome decentralized thing. And one of the things that sort of hurts my soul is, when we talk about Bitcoin, we're really talking about 100 or 200 so developers. And when we look at someone who had as much concentrated power via clout, not necessarily power over the system, as Gavin Andreessen, I think that however much power and influence and just great support they were able to provide this network, as it matures and as we wish it to become more decentralized, that their time has been served. That we really need for as a community to grow beyond them to be able to have as much influence as they do currently have. So if he's stepping down, I think that is probably the most healthiest thing for Bitcoin, because while he's still contributing and he's still being a part of the discussion, I think that his ability to sway people to agree with him is having a sort of a groupthink mentality as what Bitcoin is and how it's evolving.
I definitely agree with you there that, the minute it starts to become about a person, we've kind of lost something important with Bitcoin. It's not about a person. Satoshi gave us a great gift, as I like to say, but it's not about him. It's about Bitcoin and it's about the technology that comes from it. So I think it probably is good to have some rotation in the prominent figures that, get sort of tapped with Bitcoin.
If only so that they don't burn out and run away.
Yeah. Oh, God. I mean, I can't even imagine what it would be like to have that job. Like speaking of burnout, wow. Gavin, take a vacation.
Yeah, when I have a typo in what I write, no one cares. When he has a typo in what he writes, $10 billion get angry.
Yeah. And a lot of people. So cool. All right. Should we say thanks and have a nice vacation?
Thank you, Gavin.
Yeah, please. Hope you take one. And we've got Vladimir stepping up as the core maintainer of Bitcoin, right?
Yeah, it's sort of a laser beam kind of job, right? You step right into that spotlight, and there's a lot of eyes. But like you said, having Bitcoin be about one person is definitely dangerous. If only just because we really don't want one person to face all of that stress and drama. Just there's enough drama in Bitcoin without the media spotlight manufacturing more, as I'm sure certain man named Dorian can tell you. So the fact that there's turnover, and maybe that's something that can be formalized at some point. That might be a good Bitcoin improvement proposal.
Speaking of Bitcoin improvement proposals, Trace Meyer was talking about he wants to put a proposal in to officially change the name of an unconfirmed Satoshi into a Dorian.
It's not the first time I've heard that, and I think that's a wonderful idea. I was really happy to see that after the media spotlight that ruined that guy's month, a lot of Bitcoiners kind of banded together and set up a little fund for him and passed the hat on. I think it was
including Andreas.
It's.
I thought he handled that really well, just not trying to draw attention to him, just really try to compensate him, and that's it. One
of the things that I've always loved about Bitcoin and the people that flock to it is how nice everybody's been. Like the ecosystem is still really friendly, and it's refreshing to be in an environment where everyone is competing so heavily in this market for this very quantified thing. We have a very defined success metric in terms of number of Satoshi that are under your direct control, yet everybody's still really friendly and kind and courteous. Like we see a lot of, I saw one of the things that what made me really happy is I saw a Bitcoin donation company or organization. I don't know if they're a nonprofit. I didn't speak to them, but I saw them at the conference, and I thought that was really cool. That there are people actually.
You're referring to BitGive.
Yes, there are people working on things that allow people to take this wealth and allocate it to people that are less fortunate. That's something that warms my heart a lot. It's easy to go down the rabbit hole of like capitalism, finance. We have to remember that Bitcoin's power to change the world extends far beyond the ability to just make a lot of money or secure your money or operate your business with impunity. It also allows us to enrich people's lives.
Yeah, not that there's anything wrong with making money, but it is impressive to see how generous the Bitcoin and even like altcoins. Okay, I have to say Doge. They
they're
do
very
a lot
generous.
Of charity.
You wouldn't expect it from the crowd, and they come out in force. It's really excellent.
Right.
Yep, tip culture is huge with Bitcoin, and I really like that note to end it on. And we do have to get to the restaurant. Adam, I wish he was here because he would love the name. It's Suspenders. He always wears suspenders to conferences, like a journalist thing. I think we're going to sign off now.
EasyDNS is the Swiss Army knife for your domain names, helping meet their customers' individual needs since 1998. EasyDNS has been an outspoken critic of SOPA and CISPA. EasyDNS was an early supporter of Bitcoin, and now they are proud to sponsor this show. Do business with a company that shares your values. Get a 13% discount when you pay with Bitcoin. Go to bitcoin.easydns.com and be sure to use discount code LTB.